So recently, Audi revealed the final iteration of the long-lived and legendary supercar, the R8. This new R8 GT is the end of the road for the legendary supercar, which has seen massive success both on the road and on the track. But if it's so successful, why is Audi saying bye to it? Well, today, let's do a deep dive on the new R8 GT and figure out what makes it, in my opinion, one of the coolest supercars for sale today. In order to understand the R8 GT, we need to do a quick look back at the R8 itself. The R8 made its debut in the mid-2000s. Jesus, that makes me feel old. Anyways, it debuted alongside its cousin in the Lamborghini Gallardo. They were both built on the same platform and shared the same engines. A 5.2-liter V10, which, by the way, Volkswagen made a diesel TDI version loosely based on it, which is one of my dream builds, to TDI swap the R8, but I digress. The R8 cut out its own space in the supercar market because it was essentially a Lamborghini Gallardo, but for a hell of a lot cheaper. You could also get a V8 at the entry level, and both engines could be optioned with a 6-speed gated manual transmission. The V10 debuted with around 530 horsepower and around 400 pound-feet of torque, which for the mid-2000s was a shit ton of horsepower. And it actually made more horsepower than the Gallardo, but it was still cheaper. So you got a German-engineered car with more horsepower and didn't have to deal with Italian electronics? That sounds like the deal of a lifetime, and a lot of other people thought so too. Worldwide, these things sold like crazy, and the R8 helped save Lamborghini, as the Gallardo became Lambo's best-selling model at the time. The R8 got a new generation/facelift in 2015, coinciding with the release of the all-new Lamborghini Huracan. The R8 essentially got updates from the ground up, inside and out. The big things to know was that the engine in the base model got a 30 horsepower boost up to 562 horsepower, and the V10 Plus got an even further boost, shooting the horsepower all the way up to 612 horsepower. Some good news was that the disgusting entry-level V8 model was finally dropped, but bad news was that the gated manual transmission was also dropped as well. It got a mid-cycle refresh in 2018 with minor interior and exterior styling changes. Additionally though, in 2015, to compete directly with that neon green abomination that Mercedes made, Audi released the R8 e-tron. In my opinion, one of the biggest failures in Audi's history. So let's have a quick little story time so everyone gather around the campfire. TLDR, like I literally just said, Mercedes drops this weird safety vest looking thing, and Audi responds with this, a not half bad looking fully electric supercar. Now keep in mind, at the time, Tesla was obviously around, but electric supercars weren't really a thing at all yet. So this was kind of uncharted territory. However, the R8 e-tron wasn't all it cracked up to be. First off, to buy this, you couldn't just walk into a dealership and buy one. You could only buy this from, and I swear I'm not joking, this is 100% real, from Audi's international headquarters in Germany. So as you can see, not exactly making the buying process great for eager customers. But say you do decide, for whatever reason only known to God, to fly to Germany to discuss a purchase order for your brand new R8 e-tron. Well, that's great, except for one slight problem. The R8 e-tron is significantly more expensive than the regular V10 R8. Now I hear you, how much more expensive? You're thinking 50, maybe 100 grand more. That's really close, but actually no, it's not really close at all. It had a starting price of, and I swear this is 100% real, you can look this up, 1 million euros and $1.1 million if you were a lucky US buyer. Needless to say, these failed massively, and even Audi came out and admitted that they sold less than 100, and it was available for purchase for less than a full model year. It's not even like the specs were good. It had a top speed of 130 miles an hour and a range on full charge of around 280 miles. I mean, what the actual fuck were they thinking? Anyways though, there are multiple trim levels like the base, the V10 Plus, and more, but I think we should really get into what you guys actually came here for, the R8 GT. My second favorite supercar for sale right now. I'm behind the MC20. Oh my god, I want an MC20 so bad. The Audi R8 GT is the end of the line for what is to be one of the most successful and reliable supercars of all time, and unlike the continued failure that is the Chevy Camaro, I mean, what the fuck is this? This is the final gas-powered Camaro, and you send it off with a graphics package and call it at that? Really? Anyways, unlike the Camaro, this is actually a really cool car full of fun stuff. First off, we all need to cry in unison, as the end of the R8 also means the end of the Huracan, which does mean that this is the end for the road-going V10 passenger cars in the US, which is honestly really surreal, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy this final swan song of a car. Oh, sorry, one more bit of bad news. Only 333 are being made, with 150 coming to the US. Okay, now that all of the bad news is really out of the way, let's get into the fun stuff. This R8 GT makes 602 horsepower, which is a really good amount even in today's day and age, but it's not necessarily the power it makes, more of how it gets delivered. See, this R8 GT is special because it only comes in rear-wheel drive, meaning all 602 German heck horses forces are going to the rear, making this the most powerful rear-wheel drive Audi of all time, which has got to make this really fun in the corners. And that's the only thing making this fun in the corners. The R8 GT gets all new tech from Audi's racing division called Torque Rear, which is essentially a drift mode where you can decide how locked or unlocked you want your rear diff. Torque Rear sounds like a weird name, well, because it is, but Audi says it's because European regulators don't take too kindly to things like drift modes in road cars, and I can assume it's probably similar in hellscapes like California, so that's where the weird name comes from. And unlike seemingly every other German car, even honestly new cars sold today, the drift mode doesn't baby you. It doesn't cut power if it senses you spinning out. If you aren't careful, your rear end will pass you and you will spin out, which I honestly love. Ironically enough, Volkswagen Group in particular is especially guilty of not letting you really turn off driver aids and assists, so this is really nice to see. Anyways, enough about drifting, let's get back to the specs. It keeps the same 7-speed dual clutch transmission found in previous models and shares a lot of option parts from said previous models. Stuff like a carbon fiber anti-roll bar, carbon ceramic brakes, and bucket seats are all normally grossly overpriced options. However, in the new GT, they are all standard. Speaking of those bucket seats, they aren't like a lot of other supercar bucket seats. Similar to the Ford GT, again, similar, they are fixed in place to a certain degree. You can't adjust them front to back electronically, but you can in height. This is because removing the adjusting bits saved the R8 GT probably a good amount of weight, as normally in a car at this price point, you'd have fully electronically adjustable seats. So I do like this. The GT gets new wheels, and Euro models even get the option for on-the-fly adjustable coilovers, where you can adjust height, dampening, rebound, and more. However, as per usual, US models don't get the cool goodies, and we are stuck with fixed suspension. All of this is glossing over what is probably the coolest and most noticeable part of the new R8 GT, the aero. All of this aero is obviously carbon fiber and helps it stick to the track better, particularly around corners. This carbon fiber aero package, which is standard by the way, comes with a front splitter and paired rear diffuser, a massive fixed rear wing, and front canards. All of this are there to help guide air around and over certain parts of the car for maximum available downforce. That downforce does come at a cost though, as even with the horsepower bump, the R8 GT's top speed is 199 miles an hour. However, I highly doubt any of these will ever see any speed even remotely close to that. The interior, while not having any massive changes, comes pretty loaded with a premium sound system standard and new seats made just for the GT and some more small things. All told though, the GT weighs significantly less than the previous R8. Even with all the added goodies, it has a curb weight of 50 pounds less than the rear-wheel drive model, and that's up to 100 pounds less than the all-wheel drive models. It starts at around $250,000, and after doing the maths all by myself because I'm a big boy and definitely didn't fail high school geometry my first try, Audi really isn't ripping you off by that much. It costs around 90 grand more than the standard rear-wheel drive V10 R8, but you get at least 50 grand worth of goodies included, not including the carbon fiber aero package, which on a car like this would probably be $20,000 to $25,000 if I had to guess. Pair that with the fact that this is likely the last V10 production car in the States probably ever, and it's guaranteed this car will skyrocket in value in 5 years. So the $250,000 price tag honestly isn't terrible. Overall, I gotta say this is really sad to me. I literally grew up in this car, and I can't remember a time when the R8 wasn't on sale. So to see it go means a lot to me, and it makes me feel really good knowing that this car is getting a send-off that it definitely deserves. This car has given us some insane builds, and for that, we can't thank it enough.